Epic last stands, warriors, final battles. Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about the most legendary last stands in history. We're not talking about some little skirmish, we're talking about battles where people were outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options except to fight. These warriors fought to the bitter end, even when defeat seemed certain. Get ready to be totally mind-blown by their courage, their skill, and their sheer determination. We're about to jump into some seriously epic tales of bravery, sacrifice, and probably some pretty gruesome stuff too. Let's be real. You guys ready? Let's do it. Remember the Spartans, the Battle of Thermopylae. Picture this, it's 480 BC. The sun is baking the Greek coast. The Persian king Xerxes, this total tyrant, he's leading a massive army to conquer all of Greece. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of soldiers, maybe even millions, marching across the land like a tidal wave of destruction. But standing in their way, 300 Spartans led by the absolute legend, King Leonidas. Now these Spartans, they weren't your average soldiers. They were raised from birth to be warriors, trained in the art of combat since they were kids. And they were about to face impossible odds at a narrow pass called Thermopylae, the Hot Gates. The Persians, they thought they could just steamroll the Spartans. I mean, come on! It's 300 guys against a human ocean. Xerxes sent wave after wave of soldiers at the Spartans, but the Spartans, they held their ground. They used their superior training, their discipline, and their iconic phalanx formation to cut through the Persian ranks like a hot knife through butter. Can you imagine the scene? The clash of steel, the screams of the wounded, the ground literally soaked in blood. For 2 days, the Spartans held the pass, repelling every single Persian attack. They inflicted insane casualties on the Persians, even killing Xerxes' own brothers in the process. Talk about a power move. But the Persians, they discovered a secret path through the mountains. They were able to outflank the Spartans, hitting them from behind. Leonidas, he knew the end was near. He dismissed most of his allies, telling them to live to fight another day. But Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, they chose to stay and fight to the death. Their stand at Thermopylae became a symbol of courage, of defiance, of fighting for what you believe in, no matter the cost. Remember the Alamo? Fast forward a couple of thousand years and we find ourselves in 1836 in the heart of Texas. The Alamo, a former mission turned makeshift fort, becomes the stage for another legendary last stand. This time it's a small group of Texan volunteers fighting for independence from Mexico. Now these Texans, they were a ragtag bunch. You had frontiersmen, former soldiers, even a couple of politicians, all united under one flag. They were led by some legendary figures: William Barrett Travis, the young and determined commander; Jim Bowie, the legendary frontiersman with his trusty knife; and of course, the iconic Davy Crockett, the king of the wild frontier. They were facing a Mexican army led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, who was determined to crush the Texan rebellion. I'm talking thousands of soldiers, cannons, the whole shebang, marching on the Alamo with a vengeance. The stage was set for one of the most iconic battles in American history. For 13 long days, the defenders of the Alamo held out against Santa Anna's forces. Can you imagine the tension inside those walls, knowing that a massive army was outside, ready to storm the place? But despite being heavily outnumbered and outgunned, the Texans fought like demons. They repelled attack after attack, inflicting heavy casualties on the Mexican army. They used their rifles, their cannons, even their bare hands to defend the Alamo. Stories of their bravery spread like wildfire, inspiring others to join the fight for Texas independence. But the Mexican army, it was relentless. They bombarded the Alamo day and night, slowly wearing down the defenders. And then on the 13th day, the Mexican army launched a massive assault. They swarmed the Alamo, scaling the walls, pouring through breaches, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The defenders fought bravely, desperately, but they were overwhelmed. Next up, we're heading to Mexico, 1863. The French Foreign Legion, known for taking on the toughest missions, found themselves in a desperate situation. Imagine this. A small detachment of 65 legionnaires, led by Captain Jean d'Anjou, was on a mission to escort a convoy. They were deep in enemy territory, surrounded by thousands of Mexican troops. Talk about being in a tight spot. The legionnaires, they could have surrendered. I mean, it's suicide, right? But surrender wasn't in their vocabulary. They chose to make their stand at a deserted hacienda called Camaron. It was a crumbling building with almost no strategic value, but it would become their last stand. For 3 days, the legionnaires held off the Mexican army, repelling attack after attack. They fought with incredible courage, their discipline and training shining through. They used their rifles, bayonets, even their fists to hold back the enemy. Can you imagine the sound of musket fire, the screams, the chaos of that battle? Despite being outnumbered, outgunned, and running low on ammunition, the legionnaires refused to give up. They fought with a ferocity that shocked even the Mexican soldiers. They fought for their honor, for their comrades, for the reputation of the legion. It was a desperate fight for survival. One by one, the legionnaires fell, cut down by bullets, bayonets, and sheer exhaustion. Captain Danju, he was one of the first to fall, but his men fought on in his name. Finally, with only a handful of legionnaires left standing, the Mexican commander offered them a chance to surrender. From Mexico, we traveled to Japan, 1877. The Battle of Shiroyama, the final battle of the Satsuma Rebellion, marked the end of an era. Imagine this. Saigo Takamori, a legendary samurai and a hero of the Meiji Restoration, found himself on the losing side of history. He and his followers, outnumbered and outgunned by the modern Imperial Japanese army, made their last stand on the slopes of Mount Shiroyama. The samurai, armed with their traditional swords, bows and arrows, faced an enemy equipped with modern rifles and artillery. It was a clash of two worlds, of ancient warrior traditions versus the might of modern warfare. It was a hopeless battle, a romantic last stand against the inevitable march of progress. Despite being hopelessly outnumbered, the samurai fought with incredible bravery and skill. They charged into the teeth of enemy fire. Their swords flashing, their war cries echoing across the battlefield. They were fighting for their way of life, for their honor, for their beliefs. Saigo Takamori, a giant of a man, led his men with courage and determination. He knew they were doomed, but he refused to surrender. He would rather die fighting than live to see his world disappear. The battle raged for hours, the slopes of Mount Shiroyama stained with the blood of fallen warriors. The samurai, despite their skill and courage, were cut down by the relentless fire of the imperial army. Their arrows were useless against the enemy's superior firepower, their swords no match for the hail of bullets. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the battlefield, Saigo Takamori lay mortally wounded. Our final epic last stand takes us to British India, 1897. The Battle of Saragarhi, a testament to the courage and discipline of Sikh soldiers, is one of the most inspiring stories of bravery you'll ever hear. Picture this, a small outpost in the northwest frontier province, manned by 21 soldiers of the British Indian Army's 36th Sikhs. Their mission, to protect a vital communication line between two British forts. Sounds simple enough, right? But on that fateful day, a massive force of 10,000 Afghan tribesmen surrounded the outpost, determined to break through the British defences. The 21 Sikhs, led by Havildar Ishar Singh, faced a truly impossible task. They were outnumbered almost 500 to 1. The Afghan tribesmen, confident in their overwhelming numbers, launched wave after wave of attacks against the tiny outpost. They thought they could just overrun the Sikhs, but they had another thing coming. The Sikhs, renowned for their martial prowess and unwavering courage, were ready to fight to the death. For hours, the 21 Sikhs held off the Afghan onslaught. They fought with incredible bravery, their rifles blazing, their bayonets flashing in the sunlight. They repelled every attack, inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy. They knew they were fighting a losing battle, but they were determined to sell their lives dearly. Havildar Ishar Singh, a true leader of men, rallied his troops, inspiring them to fight with incredible courage. He knew that their sacrifice would not go unnoticed, that their bravery would become legend. And so they fought on, against all odds, knowing that they were writing their names in history with their blood. As the battle raged, the Sikhs used every tactic they could think of to hold off the enemy. They fought from trenches, from behind barricades, even from the roof of the outpost. They fought until their ammunition ran low, and then they fought with their bayonets. They fought until their last breath. Whoa, guys, can you believe the courage of those warriors? These stories are absolutely insane. From the Spartans at Thermopylae to the Sikh soldiers at Saragarhi, these last stands show that even in the face of certain defeat, the human spirit can overcome incredible odds. It's a testament to the power of courage, determination, and the will to fight for what you believe in, no matter the cost. If you enjoyed these stories as much as I did, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more epic historical content. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our next video.